All right, all right. Oh, all right, all right. So we've taken apart a bunch of CD, DVD drives, car radios, computer parts, and all that. I have them all laid out right here to show you some different things. We're going to start with this guy. This is a modern radio, but not super modern. So you can see our IC chips, our Thinky bits. But if you look here, it's just like our older radios, the old CB, and I think we had an old 1960s kind of cassette deck we did. But you'll see all these little frequency adjustments here. And I think it's a cool juxtaposition because you have your old tech right here incorporated with a modern IC chip right behind it. Right there. That's steel, so when we run this in, we're going to end up pulling a bunch of that steel off to increase the value of our board. And I think what we'll do is we'll just take that off like that off like that. And this is just sometimes what you got to do to increase your value just a hair on them and get them to the next level. You also can remove all these for later processing. These are just aluminum, so we don't care. I'm going to take this little transformer off and put it with our other ones. So we'll clean this up. I'm going to try and scoot this by as lower mid-grade. These are the parts we just removed. We'll tuck them over there. Now, this is all of a CD player kind of together. This was a slim drive CD player, like a 1/4 inch tall, for a laptop, one of the removable pieces. You can see our control, our logic. Here's where we hooked into the computer. Thinky bits, spinner motor. This was the track the drive motor went on to move your eye back and forth. And we're going to take this one step further in our next video. We had a cassette deck which has these two cool brass components in it. Brass, definitely something you can definitely something you can resell, put aside. Now these, of course, I've probably said art and recycle a ton of times in these videos, but I'm going to keep this for my art collection. We have a motor for a belt drive for a cassette deck. Those two right there, and they were just tied to actually those brass components we got that just move these back and forth. These are little electric motors that we can set aside and break open and refine, compared to these electric motors, which are drive motors for CD-ROM. So let's set these actually more in piles together. So eyes and drive motors. So belt drive. And I don't know how zoomed in you all are on this, but you can see there's a corkscrew on this, and that's what would run this track. Faster this spins, the faster your eye moves, but this is designed with that lateral movement in mind, in a forward and backward only. This is designed to spin for longer, because on a cassette, you're spinning over and over and over for that whole length. This is just micro movements back and forth for that laser eye. So we'll take all our motors and put them in a pile. Like I said, they can be further refined. And then we have all our gold ribbon cables right there. And the base metals on them, you don't really know if it's, I said gold, but it could be copper in those. So those will go in a different pile that will be refined. And a lot of what you do in this over and over and over again is setting it aside to test it. You don't want to necessarily throw it away because there's no guarantee what is in them. So you want to always, always, always wait. That's the cassette head right there. That's where the magnetic field is read and pushed through this line. Here is part of the circuit board for an eye. Little transformer. Here is a nothing low-grade board. Looking at the front of it, looks very simple, just some lights. Looking at the back of it, however, you can see all the little connections in there. And remember, these are just wires, despite what they look like. They're printed wires on this. So to do this guy, we're just going to pull this hunk off. It's aluminum. Miss our basket. Now we have some medium boards right through here. A little more of the thinky bits, and I'm always going to say that, but your IC chips. Doing more of the finite control for your motor drives. Like, that's going to do it. This is what you're touching to say, I want whatever radio station, and then it'll go to this to control the next thing down the line. It's all designed to work as a system. Through here, these are your connections that would go to your car. Antenna, and then data, wiring, power. This came out of a Chrysler. So you can see the front of it real good, and on the back of it, you can see those wires. Now this, I don't know how well you can see it through the camera, but this being clear in a lot of ways has a very futuristic look, and this will be a perfect one to mount in a shadow box behind a blacklight. So art again. I'm gonna have more art than my recycling by I'm done. This one's a little more opaque, and you can see here there's goo. And we've spoke about that on the washer machines, but instead of a thermal paste on these were sealed. And on an internal component like this, I would not know what for. So if you know, I can't believe I'm uttering this sentence, tell me in the comments. I have a hard time trying to engage in this stuff, guys. I'm sorry, because if you don't care, I don't care. I'll do me no matter what. But pull another transformer off of it, break this tower or antenna input off of it, get this steel off of here, and I'm assuming these wires have almost no value, but I don't want this to be the lowest grade possible, so I'm going to rip all this off. And by the wires, I mean these right here. On high-end stuff, they can be gold-plated. A lot of times in this stuff, they're just either a silver coating to help with the conductivity, or sometimes, depending where they are, they have a zinc coating on them. So I'm going to take this, pitch it in our low grade. Low grade right here. Grab this transformer. And I say transformer a lot, and some of them are noise filters and trying to figure out how to phrase it. Things designed not to go up or down in power, but to cancel out certain effects, build resistance, things like that. So ultra low end in there. This one, clearly a low end board, but this is another one that's just printed to do the wiring. It takes these inputs here and just runs them down and out, and it's for space saving. I'm gonna keep that one too because it's got a cool backlight. These guys are mid grades, like I said. Sometimes, I can't believe I keep saying art, but art. Low grade. We're gonna get a video on this eye, and this guy, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with yet, so I'm gonna set it aside. A lot of times, at the very least, you'll end up removing this and these guys to try and make the value a little bit better. But, back to art, I like the juxtaposition of, it's one of my favorite words if you didn't know, the actual solid state inputs that are physically and tactilely interactive versus the control boards and the LCD display. So I'm going to save that, and then we're going to end this, and oh, maybe not, I lied almost. 2 big hunks of aluminum out of those as heat sinks on the side of those radios. So this is something that'll be easy stock for me to melt down, make into shot. So this probably won't get recycled at the yard. It'll probably stay in-house. And we will do videos on the crucibles, and all that. And I've had a couple requests to show people the vac down process on recovering Freon. And Skillcat, if you guys want to learn, Skillcat's a great website. It was free when I started. I think it's $10 a month now, and you can learn forklift certification. You can learn HVAC recovery, EPA certificates, bunch of stuff like that. So I'll end up doing an episode on Skillcat as well as soon as I figure out how to make someone just not filming me use a computer. End of video.